Hello everyone, my name is Mari-Liis Miia-Topp and I welcome you to Tallinna Vesi's quarterly webinar. Today's webinar is hosted by the Chairman of the Board, Karl Brookes, and Chief Financial Officer Riina, who will introduce the performance during the 9 months of 2016. After the presentation, you have the opportunity to ask questions by writing them on the panel on the right corner. Also, if you face any technical problems, please don't hesitate to let us know by writing them on the same panel on the right corner. We will now start with the presentation, for which I will hand over the turn to Karl Brookes.
Thanks, Mari-Liis. Good morning, everyone, and thank you very much for joining the Q3 2016 webinar today. Financial operational performance continues to be strong for the third quarter. And the vast majority of our operational KPIs are being outperformed also. As you'll hear from Riina shortly, the financial performance of the company is also very strong, showing an increase in both sales revenues and gross profit. So moving on to the operational update, the quality of water supplied to our customers remains very high, with only 2 water quality sample failures from the 2,207 samples taken across our service area. This equates to 99.911% compliance in terms of overall quality. Complementing this, the final effluent that leaves our wastewater treatment plant at Baltic is also fully up to standard and is 100% compliant. Colder temperatures in the first quarter of this year resulted in a slightly higher number of bursts on the water network, which affected our overall leakage performance. However, leakage is still below 16%, which is a fantastic performance and is amongst the best in class in terms of other water companies. Work continues with respect to repairing our large collector located in the Stroomy Beach area, but thankfully now this is now drawing to a conclusion and we expect to see completion by the end of this year. ASTV's major shareholder, United Utilities, have been mentioned countless times before, has continued to provide technical support and assistance throughout this challenging project. So, moving on to our other challenges, and specifically the tariff dispute, and just a reminder on some of the background. AST at Tallinna Vesi has been a local court dispute with the Competition Authority since 2011. This dispute arose because the Competition Authority has to date refused to approve the annual water tariff application submitted by the company based on the service agreement that was signed back in 2010 when the company was first privatised. This issue has been fought on 2 fronts legally, both in the local courts and via international arbitration. So I'll just give you an update with respect to the local court case. So on the 5th of June 2015, the Administrative Court made their decision and dismissed ASTV's claim. The Administrative Court released their reasoning behind a dismissal of Tallinna Vesi's complaints on the 12th of October 2015, so quite a delay between the first decision and the explanation. The Administrative Court was of the opinion that the tariff part of the service agreement, which in itself had been deemed a public law contract by the Estonian courts back in 2012, is not binding for the Competition Authority. Needless to say, AS Tallinna Vesi filed its appeal to the District Court on the 11th of November 2015. The only update I can give you is that we're expecting that appeal to be heard at some point in the next few weeks, and we'll obviously keep you updated by the usual process. Until we get the final verdict in the tariff dispute in the local court cases, we still have an injunction in place that means the tariffs are frozen at their 2010 levels. So as I mentioned before, and in parallel to the local court, we are going through international arbitration. So after years of trying to negotiate a solution, the Supervisory Council of the company decided to commence international arbitration proceedings against the Republic of Estonia for breach of the bilateral investment treaty between the Netherlands and the Republic of Estonia. The final hearings for the arbitration will be held in Paris between the 7th and the 11th of November and the 14th and 15th of November 2016. As we've mentioned before, these hearings will be broadcast live via webcast, and the details of that website can be found both on our investor homepage and on the ICSID website. This process remains ongoing and will update the investors section of the company's website as and when there are any significant developments. I'm now going to hand you over to Riina, who will take you through the financial performance for Q3 in detail. Thank you.
Thank you, Karl, and good morning to everyone. Now I would like to give you the overview of the financial performance of Aktsiaselts Tallinna Vesi in the third quarter of 2016. I will start with the financial highlights and then we'll give more detailed overview about sales and costs. The performance of the group continues to be good. Total sales revenue were 10.8% or 1.5 million euros higher than in the third quarter of 2015. The sales of water and wastewater services increased by 1.9% or 0.2 million euros year-on-year. It was accompanied by 1.1 million euro increase of construction and asphalting services. The gross profit in the third quarter of 2016 has been higher by 4.9% or 0.4 million euros compared to the same period in 2015. The gross profit has been impacted by higher main service revenues and lower chemicals and staff costs, which was balanced by lower profit from construction and asphalting services and higher electricity and pollution tax costs. The operating profit has been higher by 14.8% or 0.9 million euros than in the third quarter of 2015. The operating profit has been impacted by earlier mentioned higher gross profit and was accompanied by lower legal costs than in the third quarter in 2015. Compared to the third quarter of 2015, the net profit of the company has been 28% or 1.4 million euros higher. It has been impacted additionally to earlier mentioned changes by lower net financial expenses, which was influenced by positive change in the fair value of swap contracts. Now let's move on to the next slides, and I will comment on the changes of revenues and expenses a bit closer. Let's start from the sales. As mentioned before, total sales revenues for the third quarter of 2016 have increased 10.8% or 1.5 million euros. Total revenues from water and wastewater services were by 1.9% or 0.2 million euros higher than in the third quarter of 2015, amounting to 12.3 million euros. As we are operating with a frozen tariff since 2010, the change in revenues is solely driven by the consumption. In the third quarter of 2016, we can see an increase in inside service area water and wastewater service revenues, which was slightly offset by a decrease in outside area water and wastewater revenues. In the third quarter, the domestic consumption from Tallinn increased by 2% or 140,000 cubic meters, amounting to 7 million cubic meters. And the consumption in the commercial sector increased by 3.1% or 75,000 cubic meters, amounting to 2.48 million cubic meters. 99% from the total increase in domestic customer volumes comes from apartment blocks, which is also our biggest customer group. There has been also a slight increase in most of other residential customer groups. In commercial sector, the growth comes from different sectors. Total volumes from outside areas have decreased by 10% or 147,000 cubic meters compared to the comparative period in 2015. It is mainly related to the sales to Viimsi, as they started to use their new wastewater treatment facilities at the end of 2015. While sales to Viimsi have ceased, the sales to other surrounding areas have increased. As mentioned before, in the third quarter of 2016, there has been continuing increase also in construction and asphalting services revenues by 110.8% or 1.1 million euros. Most of the increase comes from pipe construction. This now takes us to the overview of costs. The company's underlying operating performance in the third quarter has been good. The total cost of goods sold in the third quarter of 2016 have increased by 18.4% or 1.1 million euros compared to the same period in 2015. Direct production costs were 0.7% or 0.03 million euros lower than in the third quarter of 2015. The decrease in direct production costs came from lower chemicals costs. Saving was balanced by higher water abstraction charges related to 3% higher treated water volumes and higher pollution tax expenses mainly related to 28% higher wastewater volumes. Chemicals costs were lower mainly due to the favorable methanol price, as the methanol price is down by 37.2% on average compared to the third quarter of 2015, accompanied by lower coagulant usage in wastewater process. It was balanced by higher use of different chemicals due to higher treated water volumes and lower water quality. Electricity costs were lower because of more favorable electricity prices, balanced by higher treated volumes and electricity usage. Staff costs have decreased in the third quarter, mainly driven by the review of annual bonus reserve in the third quarter of 2015. Construction and asphalting services cost increase is related to higher construction services revenues, which was mentioned also earlier. Decrease in administrative costs is mostly affected by lower dispute-related legal costs. Legal costs will continue to affect the administrative costs up to the end of both local and international dispute, the amount of which is dependent on work that needs to be put into both disputes. The final hearing in international arbitration, as Karl already mentioned before, will be held in November 2016. Net financial expenses have mostly been affected by the non-monetary revaluation of the fair value of the swap contracts, having the positive net expense of 0.5 million euros year-on-year, accompanied by slightly lower interest costs. If we would now move on to the cash flows. The cash position as of 30th of September 2016 is strong. The company's cash balance stood at 30.4 million euros, forming 14.6% of the total assets. Compared to the end of the third quarter in 2015, the cash balance has decreased by 4.88 million euros. The biggest contribution to the cash flows comes from the main operations. The company's collection of receivables continues to be very high, being 99.78% on average. In 9 months of 2016, net cash flows from investing activities resulted in a cash outflow of 7.26 million euros. The money paid for fixed assets has been showing an increase of 1.76 million euros compared to the comparative period in 2015, amounting to 9.78 million euros. The compensation received from the pipelines decreased by 3.5 million euros compared to the 2015, amounting to 2.45 million euros. Decrease is mainly related to the collections for the extension program, which last payment was received in the first quarter of 2015. Financing cash flows are affected by the reduction in interest payments by 0.66 million euros, and those are related to the renewal of swap contracts in the second quarter of 2015. Most of outflow from financing activities in both years were related to dividend payment in the amount of 18 million euros. I would like to thank you for your time and attention, and all your questions are really welcome now.
Again, as Riina said, you have now opportunity to ask questions. You can write them on the box which is on your right corner. So we will give it a little bit time. Yes, there is one question. I will read it out. Staff costs have decreased and also average cost per employee. What are the reasons behind that besides the lower number of employees? Thank you for the question. Riina will take it.
As mentioned also earlier on when I was covering the financials, we review our bonus reserve annually, and bonus reserve reflects the amount that will be paid out to our employees based on whether the targets that were set for the company as to be achieved per annum. So as this year targets that were set for the company and for the employees have been quite stretched, and we can already see that not all the KPIs will be fulfilled that we wanted to achieve for ourselves. Therefore, we decreased the bonus reserve that will be paid out.
Thank you for the question. Do you? Can we expect that sales from construction services will stay on the same level in the future? Riina will take this one.
As you can see, we have been increasing non-regulatory income over the course of period of time, and we are still focusing in order to keep our revenue, and we also seek to even increase it. Whether we manage to do it in quite tough competition, that is something that time will show, but we definitely will concentrate also keeping the non-regulatory business and revenues related to that at quite a stable level, and we even are quite ambitious and we want to even increase it.
Thank you, Riina. I hope it answers two questions. Do we have? Yes, thank you. Is the construction service segment profitable?
Do you want me to answer that? Okay. Yeah, I'll take that question. Yes, the construction section of the business is profitable, but because we're in an external market with tough competitions, the margins are quite competitive, to say the least. But yes, I can confirm that that business is profitable.
Thank you, Karl. Any more questions? At the moment, it seems like we have no more questions, but you can always send questions through our web channels or via email. We will give it just a little bit more time. Yes, thank you. What are your ambitions regarding the construction service segment in terms of sales growth?
Shall I pick that up again? Okay. Given the impact of the tariff dispute, we are looking to, as Riina said before, to incrementally grow Watercom, our non-regulated business. I don't see that as being huge growth, and it will be slow and incremental, and we will have a mind with respect to the risk on the projects that we're bidding for as well. So I wouldn't expect to see any dramatic growth there, but we will gradually push to grow more external sales in the business.
Thank you. Again, we will give it a bit of time. At the moment, there seems to be no more questions. Again, your questions are more than welcome, either right now or later. Yes, I think we call it a day. Thank you ever so much. Have a lovely day.
Thank you very much and have a good day.
Thank you for dialing in. Bye-bye now.